So is this the end for LinkedIn automation? I just tried to log into my LinkedIn account this morning and it came up with an error message saying that I needed to comply with their new policy, which says you can't use LinkedIn automation tools, right? This is going to be a growing thing. If you run LinkedIn automation, you're probably going to run into this issue at some point, especially now with their new policy. So it begs the question, is LinkedIn automation something you should even be doing right now? The reality is, I think LinkedIn automation will still be a thing and it will still work. You just need to stay well below the limit. So you're going to have to reduce the sending volume, you're going to reduce the number of connections you're making, and just make sure your account isn't doing anything that's completely unnatural. Because at the end of the day, you can manually still send quite a lot of connection requests and messages a day. LinkedIn will allow you to do that. So as long as it's not obvious you're using a LinkedIn automation tool, like signing in from different locations, then it will be fine. Signing in from different locations is like a giveaway for LinkedIn, and they know you're doing something, either using LinkedIn automation or someone signing in from across the world using your account, which you're technically not allowed to do. So if you do that and you have team members in your account, you need to sign in from a proxy. Okay, and that's what I recommend you do if you're running LinkedIn automations as well. Use tools that have proxies attached to the softwares, right? So you ensure that every single time the account is being logged into, it's being logged into through the same IP address. There's a tool called Incogniton, and you can basically purchase proxies, hook them up on there, and then log into LinkedIn accounts from the same IP address every time. This will mean that LinkedIn won't pick up on it as easily, and you'll be safer using your account. But nonetheless, this is going to get more difficult. Like, there's no doubt about that. It's certainly going to get more difficult to use LinkedIn automation and run these campaigns, just because LinkedIn don't really want it happening. Like, I'm sure they've got, deals with certain partners where they can allow it to happen, but I think they're really knuckling down now, which is making it harder for people like us, people like you that probably want to generate leads for your business. So it begs the question, what should you do? Should you run LinkedIn automation? Should you do email? What sort of channels should you use? Now, I personally think that there's a big shift in direction of how you should be generating leads right now. I think outbound, doing sort of one-to-one outbound, there's still a use case for it and you should still be doing it, but not in the same way that it's always been done before. I don't think just creating loads of LinkedIn accounts and doing mass outreach through LinkedIn is going to be the most effective strategy in 2025. I think it's going to be a combination of content and outbound. So there's a lot of people that sort of coin this term as inbound-led outbound, especially like in the go-to-market space. But what that means is you're going to have to start posting more content. You're going to need to generate leads from your content, okay? Inbound leads. This can still be through LinkedIn, so you can still use LinkedIn. You'll just want to effectively post content around the topics, right? And post content about your offer instead of just going to people one-to-one with it. We're seeing this to be a lot more effective. Of course, it's a bit of a slower game, but LinkedIn will like this. If you build up your audience, build up your following, and allow people to spend more time on the platform, you'll get rewarded for that versus penalized for sending high volumes of messages from your account. So I think there's going to be a shift to creating more content on LinkedIn. I know this is something we're going to do a shift towards and obviously help our clients with in 2025. It's going to be more on the content side of things. And I think you've got to lean into that. Like, times change, you can't stay doing the same thing forever, otherwise you're going to go out of business. So I think content is going to be a huge shift. Now, in terms of direct outbound, there's a couple of ways I think you can still do it through LinkedIn. Obviously, building your connections and using your pre-existing connections can be a good way to do it. So if you've been in the game for a while, you might have, say, 10,000 connections, right? Those are people that you can message at high volume because you're already connected with them. LinkedIn just doesn't really like new connections and new messages going out. So if you have that pool, I'd maximize that pool, right? You're already connected with them. You've got free will to message them at whatever volume you like and whatever frequency you like. So it'll be more effective that way. Now, that's just one of the methods. I think also email is going to actually take a return in 2025. I really do think it will. Although it's harder to enter, those who have the skills to pull it off will do really, really well, right? Because it's pretty much a game now of landing in the primary inbox. If you can do that, you'll effectively win. Because I don't get that many emails in my inbox anymore, to be honest. All of them go to spam. So if you find ways to get around the spam filters, and I've obviously got other videos on my channel on how to do that, I think it will be really effective. I think you'll be able to, boost your outbound campaigns. Now, Obviously, those are two ways, LinkedIn and email. I personally think there's going to be an old strategy that's going to reignite in 2025, and I'm leaning into it a lot. I'm starting to test and experiment so we can roll this out for clients as well, and that's going to be cold calling. I really think in 2025, cold calling is going to be the move because it seems like no one does it anymore. It's got a really, really high conversion rate from when someone's picked up the phone if you have a decent offer. It's just no one wants to make cold calls, especially when it's so easy to set up email accounts, to do LinkedIn automation, just be hands off. Those who are willing to put in the work, go the extra mile and actually, grit down and make those dials, I think they're going to win. So I'm investing quite a bit into cold calling, finding good cold callers, developing scripts, developing systems, power dialers, etc. I think that's going to be a really good method for 2025. So if you're not sort of leaning into cold calling right now and you're just relying on automation, give it a go, experiment, test, because there's no doubt that LinkedIn and email are going to get more difficult. There's still going to be ways to do it. Like I've said, if you just stay below the limits on LinkedIn, use proxies, log in from the same IP, I think you'll be fine. But it is a risk. And if you are a recruiter, for example, or an agency owner, can you really afford to lose your LinkedIn account? That's a question you've got to ask yourself. And you may just have to deal with generating less leads on a daily basis for the longevity of your account and the longevity of your business. And that would be investing more into the content side of things, creating content for the long term. I think that's going to be one of the big shifts that business owners should make, obviously, as well as the cold calling aspect. So is LinkedIn completely finished? I don't think so. I just think you need to learn to use it in a different way. Post more content and re-engage with those leads who are engaging with your content. You're going to see much higher conversions. People actually know who you are. They're not going to be completely cold prospects. Yes, it's going to be less volume. Yes, you may book less calls in the beginning stage, but as soon as your content starts compounding, you'll never worry about leads again. It might take a while to get there, but you will get there if you stick to the path. As for other outbound strategies, I think email is going to make a return. Definitely stay tuned on my channel because I'm going to be dropping more stuff on email. I think it's still a really good strategy. And then of course, cold calling, right? So I'm going to create some videos around cold calling in the near future as well. But overall, just stay safe with your LinkedIn account. Don't push it too much because if you're like me, you can't really afford to lose it. There's tons of good connections on there, tons of business opportunity. So you just need to learn to be safe with it, basically. The only other option to use on LinkedIn would be to actually get virtual assistants to run this manually for you, right? Now, it's absolutely crucial that you use that system that I talked about with proxies and incognito to get them to log in from the same IP address. Otherwise, your LinkedIn account will go. But if you can get that right, and if you don't know how to do that, shoot me a DM on either LinkedIn, Instagram, or wherever you can find me, and I'll show you how to do it. But if you can have a VA actually logging into the same IP address and sending emails and connections manually, it will be favored by LinkedIn because they can detect if an automation is doing it. They can see the sending pattern. Is it sending every 20 minutes? What sort of variability is going on it? But it's very hard to mimic the human sort of outreach, right? A human doing it will be preferred by LinkedIn. And believe me, they've got a big team of developers, very smart people. They will know. They will know if you're doing it manually. They'll know if you're doing it with automation. And if you just have someone in your team, whether it's a virtual assistant or yourself, doing this manually, yes, it's going to take up more time, but that's how you can probably squeeze a bit more out of your account. That's what we're going to be leaning on, getting virtual assistants on the likes of Sales Navigator to send emails out to open profiles, right? And you can do this at a good volume. You can still send around 800 emails a month, right? Not automated, manually, but you need a virtual assistant to do it, train them how to find the profiles and send the messages, and that will work nicely. That's what we're getting good results with at the moment. So I think LinkedIn automation is going to get tougher. If you want to continue to do LinkedIn at high volume, I would recommend virtual assistants and getting them to manually send messages. Yes, it's going to be a bit slower, maybe a little bit more expensive as well, as you're paying for their time instead of automation. But it's the way you need to do it in 2025, I believe anyway, right? Obviously lean on the other methods like cold calling and cold email. But the most important thing I think is start making content. If you're putting it off, you're just doing yourself a disservice. The quicker you start content, the more your business will grow in the long term. Believe me, I've seen the effect of it. Many of my clients have seen the effect of it when they start to actually do content themselves. So I can't recommend doing that enough. And then start to nurture those leads that are coming inbound, okay? So stay safe on LinkedIn. Make sure you don't get that account banned, because that's not what you want. But if you are looking for any like one-to-one help with outbound, with generating content, and will create inbound leads as well, I'll offer personal one-to-one coaching where I can help you build out these systems where you're going to be safe on LinkedIn, not get your account banned. The link's in the description if that's of interest to you. Just book a time with me. You'll be speaking with me directly, and we can go from there and see if we can help. But yeah, hopefully this video has been interesting. Stay safe out there on LinkedIn, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.